Yeah, everyone, good morning and good evening. Let's start with today's session. I see less crowd today. Okay, no problem. Let me quickly share my screen and share the agenda for today. So today basically we'll write our first YAML file. Package manager. So we'll replicate the same build pipeline in the release what we did using classic. This is the files which we have created, correct? This was the classic. Using classic method we have created this build file. Now let me do the exact same thing using YAML. In order to use YAML, I'll be using Visual Studio Code itself. That is the IDE tool I'll be using to write the YAML's build pipeline. So let me open that first. So we'll be using VS Code, and I'll be making the changes over here itself in the same folder so that we can later push it. Okay. So I'll be making use of the same syntax, the basic syntax which we went through yesterday in the yesterday's session. So the same set of syntax I'll be using. Let's see, let me have this Visual Studio up first. Okay, let me close all this ARM template. This is not needed. Save and close it. Okay, I'll have my YAML file created somewhere over here at this level. Okay, I'll have my YAML created over here. I'll name it as Azure -pipelines. Close this all. I'll name it as Azure -pipelines.yml. Okay. No, there's no hard and fast rule what naming convention you have to use. Azure -pipeline is a default naming convention whenever you write a build and release pipeline. Okay, but you can use whatever name you want. Unlike Azure AWS DevOps has a very specific requirement that your pipeline name should be build spec. In Azure there is nothing as such. You can use whatever name you want. Even in AWS you can use it, guys. There's a different way of doing it, but by default in AWS the agent pool will look for build spec file. In Azure there is nothing as such. You can name whatever you want, just make sure it has an extension ending with .yaml or .yml. Okay, now before I jump on and start writing the things for you, I'll again, so let me do a git pull to make sure everything is pulled. And if you see this, I'm using a git bash over here, guys. This is a bash shell which I'm using, so it will connect to my git, it will pull the changes. Already up to date, so this looking good. Okay, before I start writing anything, there's one plugin which is required. Go to extensions. These are prerequisite. This plugin will help you with most of the things. Azure pipelines. So this plugin will help you with syntax highlighting. It has IntelliSense. So IntelliSense basically, if you write something like, if you have given any extra space, if you're using some wrong format or anything as such, it will sense it and it will give you the error straight away. So this is the Azure pipeline, again by Microsoft. No third-party plugin we're using. This is something we're using from Microsoft directly. It got syntax highlighting, IntelliSense, and it has all the templates which is related to your YAML file. It can also do schema auto detection, so automatically it will detect what exactly you're trying to do, and automatically it will go and add spaces for you. So this comes very handy. Again, make sure this is installed. Once you install, close Visual Studio Code and open Visual Studio Code again for this to get impacted. Okay, Azure Pipelines, remember the name. This is the pipeline plugin which is required in order to write all this build and release into YAML. Okay, now keeping things very simple, we have Visual Studio Code, we have the project in the Visual Studio Code. I'm making changes inside the Git repository so that once my build is ready, I can push it to my remote repository and I can run my build pipeline accordingly. And I have the plugins installed. These are the prerequisite. Once you are done with this prerequisite, we are ready to start. Now I'll be following the same steps just to make things very simple. What are the things needed? If you go and open this classic again, the first thing over here, it is looking for the branch. Forget about this pipeline. This is your agent information for now. This is looking for your branch information. Based on this branches, the trigger is happening, correct? If there's a change in the develop branch, then the trigger happens. So the first thing is we'll go and add the trigger. So I'll just start writing the code. Trigger, as soon as I just write TRI, I'm getting a auto completion of trigger. This is what I want. Done. Okay, now if I come down, it is giving auto space. See, there is a space automatically where exactly your cursor is. Now trigger is a list, guys. Now you can set triggers on multiple branches. We all know main, develop. If you want to run this pipeline for multiple branches, so trigger is a list. So how do we define a list? It is dash followed by the list, correct? So I want to run this pipeline when there is a change in my develop branch. I simply do this way, develop. Done. Come down. Now what is the next thing? We need to have the agent pool. Now this agent pool, this is from where it is inheriting. It is inheriting from here, Windows 2019. So I can have an agent pool over here. How do we define agent pool? So this is defined with the name of pool. Semicolon. Again come down. Now when you define an agent pool, over there it is written as Windows 2019. If you want to have the exact same thing, you can put in Windows 2019, or you can use something called Windows latest. So Windows latest is something, it will automatically go and get you the latest Windows operating system. Okay, now this is a key value over here because you need to give a pool name followed by which OS. So this is a key value. If you want to define a pool, it is something with what is the VM image name you want, that becomes a key for you, followed by single inverted commas, and in this you can just simply do Windows latest if you're not sure what exactly is the Windows OS you want to use. So you can simply use Windows latest. So basically it will go and get you Windows 2022. That is the latest one. But if you have any specific requirements, see this latest, Windows latest. This is what I'm using. You can also use Windows 2019, guys. You just have to put Windows 2019 over here. Okay. And there is some error over here. This is missing property stages. That's okay. As soon as we fill in everything, the error will be gone. Okay. Now we are done till here. We got this source. We got this agent. Now these are the tasks which we need to add. What is the first task? NuGet installer. Okay, so this will all come within the steps. Go and look, we have this, these are steps 1 2 3 4 5. These are the list of steps which we need to execute. So how do we add the steps? This will come within the steps. So I'll add something called steps over here. What is the first step? Step is nothing but list of step. Your step has multiple lists, correct? First is NuGet installer, NuGet version, building your solution, copying the files, publishing artifact. These are lists. In this, the first task is, so we call this as task. These are tasks, guys. Whatever you see over here, these are tasks. At the top you see there's written a task over here. So you need to define the list of tasks. The first task is, what is the task you want to do? Install NuGet. Okay, so how do we call NuGet install over here? This is, you just do NuGet and you get all the NuGet commands. Now if you see, there are NuGet installer over here. At 0 you will find at 1. So this is nothing but as a series. Like if you're calling this task multiple times, you can use at 1 and at 0. So I can use at 0 also, I can use at 1 also, it's one of the same thing. That's it. NuGet installer at 1 it will go and get me the NuGet. Okay. Now this will go and get me the latest NuGet. If you want to have a specific version, you can go and put in the specific version again. This is your NuGet installer. Second task is NuGet restore. This is the NuGet restore, along with there is a command, restore command, which we are running. Okay. So this is something I can have one more task. See the spacing, guys. I'm not giving any spacing purposely. It is when I come down, automatically it is expecting a list over here, so it comes over here, and this is the key value. Then again a list. I'm giving one space, adding one more task over here. Now what is the other command? NuGet command I want to run. So I just put NuGet again. So if I want to run a command, this is what it is. NuGet command. Okay. Now NuGet command has a command. It is taking inputs from you. This is restoring and it's taking inputs from you. The input is the solution file. Okay. You want to run a NuGet restore command, and the restore is taking an input. So that means you need to run this command along with this input. So it's a key value. So in order to give inputs in your NuGet, you need to have something called inputs. Make sure this, don't make such mistakes. Okay, you have to make sure you have to just there within the task. Okay, if you make this way, this is a different command altogether. It has no relation with the above task command, NuGet command. And if you do something like this, this becomes parent task and inputs you're putting for the NuGet command. This is the right way of doing. And as soon as I put inputs, it's coming within inputs. So input become parent over here, and the command which I write over here within input will become the child. So this is how it should be. Now what I want to do, I want to do a restore. So this is what I want to do, a restore solution. Okay. Now where exactly the solution file is? The solution file is kept in your DevOps, web apps and things like that. This is where the solution file is. So what did I say? The best way of defining your solution file is using the relative path. Okay. Forward star.sln. This is what we all know what exactly we are doing right now. Okay. Star will go and look all the levels. Start.solution will look for the file ending with .solution. Okay. You can't define absolute over here, so you need to have relative pathing, which you have to use over here. So the second task is done also. NuGet command. What is the third task? Third task is building your solution. Okay. So we are using what? We are using Visual Studio Build over here. This is the build which we are using for building your ASP.NET application. Now in order to build your ASP.NET application, we can use the same build, that is VS build. If I just took VS build, see the first command, VS build at 1. Just have this. Now this VS build is taking multiple inputs. Again the input, there are inputs, correct? What are the inputs? The solution file is the input, and these all arguments. This argument is very important, guys. These arguments are the inputs, correct? Now I can again put the same thing, inputs See, by mistakenly I've incorrect syntax I'm putting. So see the error. The file is red in color and things like that. So this is all happening. It is letting you know that your syntax, there's a syntax issue, or you have made some mistakes in your file. Okay, so I'll just put inputs now. Again, no semicolon, again error. If I come down this way, now this is perfect. Now input, the first thing is the solution input. I need to define the solution. Right, it's not taking this. Forget about this. Okay, solution, again same thing I can do. *start /start dot sln. The second thing I need is the arguments which is defined over. This argument is very important. We all know this. Deploy on build true, build, I need to create a package location and everything. This is very important. So I need this surely I need this. Okay, for that I will have something called ms build arguments over here. See this, under single inverted comma we can put this right as it is. All this argument is right over here. I just copied pasted from the classic file. Okay, there are n number of other arguments also which you can use. I think I have a bookmark for the arguments. Yeah, see this, these are all your ms build properties. If you want to know from where exactly we are getting this deploy on build and all this, we are getting it from this, what exactly the importance are and what all more arguments if you want to use, everything is given right in this ms build properties. This is what is used. Let me give you in the chat, keep it for your reference. Okay, so from where exactly we are getting arguments, you will come to know. Okay, let's go back. Done. If you want to define the platform and configuration, you can define it in your task itself, but that is not required for now. Let's leave it. The other task what you have is the copy task. So let's have this copy task also added. Okay, if you want to add the copy task, you can simply go and add the copy task over here. You can simply go and add this copy files. You can add this, or else this is not needed for now. We'll keep it simple. The next task will jump on to the next task, that is publish artifact. In the publish artifact, I want the artifact which is there in my this location to be placed into my drop location. Okay, so this is what we need to do it. So this location name is path to publish, the drop location name is artifact name, and the location where I want it's artifact public location. So this is the naming, same naming convention I'll be using. So I'll simply have publish artifact. See, publish build artifact, this is the task which I want. I want the build artifact to be published. So, and this takes multiple inputs now, correct? What are the inputs it takes? The first input it will take is path to publish with path from where you want to have the files. So basically you have the files from this location, build artifact staging directory, correct? Second, which location, where exactly, what is the name of your artifact, something like, so the artifact name is, my Visual Studio is behaving weird, let me select this. So the name is drop, correct? That is the name, drop artifact name. And what is the published location? You can simply have the published location as this. What is the location? So basically this location you want to keep it in Azure pipeline, so this is basically goes in container. What did I say? The pipelines are basically a container. So in YAML this is known as container. Done. Your build pipeline is ready. Guys, your build pipeline, a simple build pipeline is ready. Okay, if you want to add the copy task also, let's do it now itself. What do you want to copy? Task. It is, you want to do a copy task, correct? So let's do a copy. If you want to know more about it, we can simply select the task. Suppose you're not getting the output like the way I'm getting, so always do a control space. You get more information about the task and you get this drop down again. So if you see copy file 1, copy from the source folder to target folder using mini match pattern. Second, if you see copy files from the source folder using pattern matching, this is what we wanted, correct? Copy files at 2, this is what we wanted. I'll select this, not this, I want 2. Select this. Okay, now again this is input. This copy task is also looking for multiple inputs. What are the inputs? It will look for the source folder, it will look for the content, it will look for the target folder. 3 things. Let's go and define the source folder. Source folder, what is the source folder? What did we mention in this? The source folder is something ARM web app, correct? Let's have this over here with a /. Okay, that was the source folder. What is the content we want? Contents we want is JSON files, correct? So that's something like *** dot JSON. This is what we want. Third, we want target folder, correct? So target folder, this is what we want. Target folder, build artifact staging directory. Done. So exactly the same thing what you have it over here. So that's why I've covered classic first, guys, so that you can have an idea like what all stages, what all tasks you can add in your YAML. Because if I would have started YAML directly, it will be difficult to understand. Now if you can easily relate, these are the same steps which you have already ran in classic. Now you are doing it using YAML file. Okay, are we good till here, guys? Any questions, any doubt?
So I have a question.
Yep, tell me.
So if we don't have a classic in place, how are we gonna go about this if we don't have because we can get all the variables from the classic. So if we don't have classic in place, how are we gonna spot out the variables and
That is with
stuff like that?
experience. When you start working on any pipelines, CI/CD, setting up things from scratch, when you start building up pipelines, you'll come to know what are the steps needed to execute a .NET application. Don't need to go with classic. I was just showing you classic reference just
Yeah.
because we did
But
classic, but eventually when
mhm,
you start building up things, this is just a .NET, you end up getting
okay.
Java. Now for Java, what all things you need? You will need a Maven. So all these things are very similar. Like suppose a Java application, trigger is same, pool, the only difference you will have Ubuntu over here. Okay, in steps you will, in place of NuGet, you will be using Maven. You need to have Maven. Okay, then you will have some Maven clean, Maven install, Maven package. So you should, that is where the expertise come in. You need to know the flow, like for building this application, what are the steps I need. Based on that steps, you can add your task. Now you want to run the clean first, you need to run the install second, then you want to run the packaging third, then you need to run the publish copy last, and this 2 tasks will also remain same. The copying the JSON file, in place of JSON there could be a Terraform template, then publishing it to a drop location, or you can publish it to a file share path, depending. So this is very similar. In between you will have these tasks, which is basically building your application. Those tasks you need to add. Now how do we build that application? Like Java application can be built through multiple ways. You can use Java vanilla to build it, which is difficult because it will not manage the dependency, or use a package manager such as Maven and Gradle to build it. ASP.NET can be built using VS Build. It can be also built using MS Build. Angular npm, that is a package manager which you need to use it. Angular, React JS, Angular, npm. Wherein if you have Python is very simple. There's no build and anything as such. Building is where you do the compilation. In Python, it's not a there's no compilation required. It's an interpreted language. Okay, so this basic understanding if you have, so you don't need to worry about whether you're using Classic, whether you're using YAML. You know the flow, you know the steps, and you don't even need to remember all this syntax, guys. It's there on Microsoft official website. If you go on the Microsoft documentation and look on the official website, and if you know the flow, you will come to know what is the task I need to use. That simple it is. Okay, yeah, so answering to your question, how do you know? Then that is with experience and expertise. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Okay, anyone else? Any other questions, guys? Okay, if no question, let me get this pushed. So I'll simply do a add. I'll do a quick commit. Added YAML file. Perfect. Push. Okay, now we have the YAML file placed over here somewhere in my repository. Perfect. Azure.yaml. This is the file which I am looking for. Have the file ready. Let's go and create the pipeline now. So initially, even though you have automated everything, you have the build pipeline where you have the YAML file created, you need to go and initially you need to set up the pipeline first, guys. So I'll click on new pipeline. I'll go to, now this time I'll not go and select the classic editor. This time I'll go, where is my YAML file? My YAML file is kept inside my repository. I'll go and select my repository. This is the only repository I have, and if you see, automatically my file is popping up over here. I selected the repository and the file popped up over here. That is the reason I have written the file beforehand. Now I simply, if I run it, I can simply run the pipeline. See, the pipeline started. I have a new pipeline created with the name. It took the project name. This is something, we'll change it later, but for now it started working as we have expected. That easy things becomes if you have the YAML file beforehand written, and if the YAML is part of your repository. This is how quickly your build will be ready and you can start running your build pipeline. Other importance, now this build is part of your repository. This can be easily shared across multiple projects. This YAML file can be easily worked upon by other developers. Everyone knows, by seeing this YAML file, they will know what exactly happening with the build. So that is the reason even Microsoft is promoting YAML a lot. Everywhere, wherever you go, you will find YAML steps. Classic will very hardly, even if you're doing any sort of R&D. So you will find Classic very rarely. Wherever you see on Google or Microsoft documentation, you'll see an example of YAML only. Okay, now if you see, this build pipeline was successful. It's the same thing, very similar to Classic. Now one publish, your drop location, you got the zip file and you got the parameter.json and parameter web.json file created. Okay, this is how a build is created in YAML. Now let's go back, come down. One more thing, how do we define variables? How do we define variables now? Now variables can be easily defined. Now we were using variables, correct, in my actual pipeline. Now over here, how do we define variables in, and why do you need to define variables at first place? Now if you see, there are multiple repetition which is happening over here. Your solution file is getting repeated at multiple places like this. Now similarly, when you write an actual build pipeline, there will be multiple repetition. Okay, so in mine is very simple and straightforward. If there's any change in this hard-coded values, I could easily go and to that location and make the required changes. But this is not the right way to do things in build pipeline or release pipeline. If you have any such values which you're defining anywhere in your file, the best way is to go and define variables. What is the best way? Is to go and define variables. So the variables will come outside these steps. Your variables will come right at this screen over here. After the pool, you can define the variables. You can do something like this, variables, and you can, so what is getting repeated, what values you want to add. So the solution, for now the solution is getting repeated, correct? So I can have something, the solution defined at one single place over here, and I can simply call this inside my task. How do we call a variable? Dollar open bracket close bracket, correct? And the name of the variable, the key. Are we good? This is how we call. We have already seen in classic when how do we call variables. So remember, when we were creating ARM, there were multiple variables which you need to define. So where do you define the variables? It will come all over here. Same way, I can have this part copied and pasted over here. Suppose there is a change tomorrow. If anything is such a you need to change it over here, you can just simply do it at this location. You don't need to go and look into your other YAML files, where exactly it is written. You don't need to have to look. Now all thanks to this trigger, if I go and push my changes again, it will go and run the build again for me. Okay, before that let me go and change this name. And name it as web app hyphen build hyphen underscore release YAML, so that we can distinguish that this is my YAML file. Okay, we have the YAML now. I can go ahead and push the change again. There it is. I can simply do a git commit -a -m updated YAML. Now it should go and run the things again. Now all thanks to the trigger which is set. So the trigger will make sure that your build pipeline runs automatically whenever there is a change. Okay, so the build YAML started. It will go and run things again. Okay guys, and there was one more thing. Remember, we had something called branch filter and we had something called path filter. Can we do the same thing in YAML? Definitely yes, you can do it. There's nothing you cannot do it in YAML. So if you want to add something, that branch filter and this path filter, that comes in inside this trigger section. Now let's remove this develop. Now if you want to add some branch filter, so you can have something called branches over here, and then you can have in branches what all things you had, include, correct? Include and exclude. So if you want, you can have something called include, and include you can include main branch, develop run. This is how you can do it. Same way, if you want to have something called exclude, you can have exclude also. Like, let me remove this main branch from here. Let's put this main branch in exclude. Okay, same thing if you want to do with path filter, then you can do with path. There's something called paths. You can have again the same thing, include what what is the name of the folder? DevOps hyphen web apps. Correct? This is the folder name. This is, we can very easily do this way. You can use star and all if you want. This is how you can have the include and exclude also added. Now if I do include and excluding main, that means it will only run when there is a change in the develop branch. If there is a change in main branch, it will not run. If there is a change outside any other folder, it will not run. So let me just remove this part, exclude, because there is a different example I want to show you how to reuse this template. So hence I'm just removing the exclude and just keeping this. Now you guys tell me, if I push this change, will my pipeline will run or not after putting all this? If I push this change, think of it and tell me, will my pipeline will run or not? If I push it, let me see if the previous one is successful. Yeah, previous one is successful. Tell me, if I go and run this change with this filter option which I have added, will my pipeline run? Yes or no? If yes, why yes? If no, why no? Anyone? Guys, waiting for your answer. Anyone? Kishore, Guy, Sebastian, Babatunde, Ragul. What do you think? If I go and push it, will my pipeline will run or not? Automatically it will run because we have a trigger set. So in this case, what will happen? Based on these triggers, this is we have already done in Classic. What will happen? Will it run? Guys, said it won't because of the path perhaps. Okay, good. Anyone, any other apart from this? Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
I think it might run because this is not hard coded. It's still the same part you define. You define variables, so it should run.
It should run. Okay. What about you, Kishore? Kishore is on mute. Not sure. Okay, so Guy is right. It will definitely not run because we have this path included. And if you see, what does this path mean? If there is a change inside this folder, then only your pipeline should trigger. Now there's no change inside this folder right now. The only change you're doing is in this YAML, which is outside the folder. Let's see what happens. So keep this in mind because there is a lot of confusion around why my pipeline is not running, this and that. So keep this in mind. Now the push is done. Let me see if there is a change. See, no changes. Your YAML and nothing is running right now. If you go, we have the commit already. We have the commit. So all thanks to this path filter, there's no status. Your file, your pipeline is not running. So this is how we segregate, because what did I say? Your branches may have multiple applications. So if you just keep develop, so all your pipelines will keep on running whenever there's a change in a develop branch. So the best option is using, along with this branch, is to use the path filter option also. Okay, that's it. Okay, now how do we reuse this option, reuse this YAML file? Now you will say, we got multiple branches, we got main branch. Now do I have to write one more YAML file even for my main branch with this option, the trigger set to main? Then how do we maintain two different versions of YAML? That becomes a difficult, in real time I'm talking about, guys. You can have, this is the things which I'm saying, that you can have one more YAML created with the branch name different over here. That is quite possible. But in reality, you will end up getting n number of issues if you keep two different versions of YAML. How do you do cherry pick then in that case? If there is a change in a develop branch and if you want to cherry pick and if put it into the main branch, your YAML file will also come. So your second version of main YAML file will be overwritten. How do we fix such issues? This is a real-time scenario which you will come across, and mostly it's a practical interview question if they ask. This is the question I definitely ask when I take interviews. Because if you have worked on Git and if you have worked on pipelines, then only you'll come to know, or else you'll not come to know. Okay, now firstly let's do one thing. Let's put all the files in main branch because my main branch is out of sync right now. And let's put this YAML file also in the main branch. The existing one, I'm not making any changes to the YAML file right now. Let's put it everything in the main branch. Merge with main. Okay, let's go in. There are so many changes. Great. There's no associated work item, so better completed. So what did I do? I created a pull request and I merged with my main branch. So my main branch will have all the required changes now. Very importantly, it has the YAML file. But the problem is it has the include. If I create a pipeline with this YAML, what will happen? Both the pipelines will start running. Let me show you. Create a new file. YAML DevSecOps. I have a existing YAML. I'll change the branch from here to main and select my pipeline. Done. I'll just save it. I'm not running it right now, and I'll just rename it with web app build YAML, and this is main branch. So I'll just name it as main at the end, so that we know what exactly which pipeline is running. Okay, save this. Now we got a main file and we got a, let me name this as develop, so that we know. And for now, let me just make some changes in this classic so that it should not run automatically. I don't want this to run automatically, so I'll just go and disable the trigger for this classic one. What I'll do, I'll simply go and disable the trigger so it will not run automatically. Okay, so we got two YAML files, a main one and develop one. Now let me make changes inside the folder. Let me just remove this testing thing, save this. Let me do a quick commit. And let me do a push. So let's see what happens when we do a push. Done. Do you see both started running? Your develop also started running, your main also started running. This is the issue, correct? Because I'm using the same YAML, I'm just cancelling this, guys. Unnecessary, I don't want this to run. And I'll just cancel the develop also. So, understood the issue, what issue I was talking about? How do we reuse the YAML file? The option is not there. Creating two versions of YAML file, the option is not there. So don't even think. Now this is the YAML. You need to use the same YAML file with the same changes. You don't need to. There are other option. You can have include a main, but again the same thing will happen. Both the files will start running. Both the pipelines will start running. Then how do we reuse? And whenever there is a cherry pick happening from develop branch to main branch, then there's the same YAML file will be cherry picked, so you cannot even change there. So what we can do over here, in order to avoid such things, you can go into main, edit this file, go to the triggers option, and in the trigger option you can have override YAML, select the branch main over here, and over here in the YAML you can go and change the endpoint to main. Done. Now what will happen after this changes? When there is a change in the main branch, and in that folder we have not added the path filter. If you want to add the path filter, you can do that also. Go and add the path filter also. Okay, we have added the path filter. Okay, now when there is a change in the main branch and inside this folder, then only this your main pipeline will run. And when there is a change in the main branch and this folder, when there is a change in the develop branch in this folder, then only your develop branch pipeline will run. Understood? How do we test it? I'm inside develop branch right now. Let's do the change again and let's see. Have something called testing. Excuse me. Okay, so now let's go and test it. See which one is running now? Only the develop, the main was not even touched. Now let me cancel this, I don't want this to run. Now if I go and make changes to the main, I can do a switch. Switched, and if you see this main branch doesn't have anything, as if now my local is not even synced. Okay, so let me pull everything first. My local does not have anything related to main, hence all this cross what you see. Now after I pulled everything, see the cross is gone. Okay, now we are good. Now what I can do, I can simply remove this part and have testing main branch. Okay, now I can simply save this. Now I'm making changes to a main right now. Okay, get commit. Hopefully everyone is familiar with this git commands which I'm running right now, guys. by now. Updated main index file. Git push. Main started running. Perfect. This is what we wanted. So this is how you will play along with your things. Understood, guys? Any questions? Any doubt? How do we reuse your YAML? How do we create variables? How do we set branch and path filters? This is the YAML for you. I'll be sharing this YAML file. I'll be updating this YAML file. This is not done yet. This is one part, build. We still have the other bigger part, releases. This is what I'll do it on Monday. Okay, but this is one part and I want you to be very familiar with this one part, because when I go and add release, let me tell you, the line of code will be more than 100. As of now it is 37. When I'll go and add my deployment steps, the line of code will go above 100. Okay, hopefully this is now, as I said, YAML is a very simple language, and if you see the syntax, I'm not using any fancy syntax over here. It is straightforward: dictionary, key value pair, and list, and the next nested dictionary. That's it. The three things which I showed you during my YAML theory, that is the exact same thing what we're using over here. Nothing fancy, no extra things, nothing. Okay. If anyone has any doubt, please do let me know, or else we can wind up the call for today. Anyone, any doubt? No doubt, guys? This is something you have to go and practice by yourself. If you don't go and practice, I'm 100% sure you'll not understand anything whatever we'll do on Monday. This is with practice you'll come to know what exactly we are doing going forward. Because even now, this is after ASP.NET we'll start Java, and Java is all YAML. I'm not doing classic in Java. And in Java we'll have lot of other things such as your unit test cases. We don't have unit test cases over here, correct? You will have JUnit test cases. You will have code coverage. We'll integrate SonarQube to your Java build. Just imagine the number of line of code YAML. It will go above 200. So that level of YAML scripting we are talking about, guys. So make sure this is very basic, very straightforward, which we did right now. Go and practice, and let me know if there's any doubt, any questions. I can do a quick recap for you guys on Monday. Okay, that's it for me. If any questions, please do let me know, or else we can wind up. Do AWS and GCP also have classic only? No. AWS has classic, you can see, but classic is not that user friendly, guy, to be very specific. In AWS, it's better to use build spec.yaml file. Same like YAML what you are writing over here. In AWS, you can do the same thing. Okay, and that is wherein you can put in all the stages what exactly needs to be done, and easily your build and release will be done in AWS. GCP, I've never used it. I didn't like GCP yet. I never got an opportunity to work with GCP, but let's see. If ever I work with GCP, I'll let you know what they use. Mainly on AWS and Azure. So for AWS, I got free videos. AWS is very small, frankly speaking, very small. It doesn't have much options. So I got free videos on my YouTube channel. If you want to just have a look and feel of how AWS CI/CD works, you can just go and check. It's a 1.5 hour video, so hardly it will take some time Just go through it and see how AWS things work. So the same thing, the ASP.NET, what I'm showing over here right now, which I have deployed on web app on AWS, I have deployed the ASP.NET on Elastic Beanstalk using buildspec.yaml file. So just see my playlist, you will find AWS DevOps video over there, and just go through it if you get chance. Okay, that's it. If no other questions, guys, thank you very much. Happy weekend, and hope to see everyone on Monday, because on Monday it's very important. We are adding deployment steps in my YAML on Monday. Okay, bye bye. Yes, YAML is better, guy. Even in, if you compare YAML with Groovy, which is there in Jenkins, YAML is much better and much easier to understand. Okay, bye bye.